Somebody just said you're here. Like they don't want me here. So they're like, "So you're here." They keep doing this. They keep repeating this like all week. They've been like, "So you're here." Like they keep repeating this a lot. It's fucking awful. Someone says I can hear it. 6:46. Someone said we're cooked. They said that dude is like a trailer park boy. 6:47. Somebody just said it on the line. This is the meme. Never fake an orgasm. Let them know they failed. I'll just sit here all morning and like repeat half this shit that these people say. I'll repeat everything that they say here. It might look nuts, but like, eh, it is what it is at this point. Like, I guarantee you guys, if I start to like get comfortable and like start thinking of good ideas for myself, doop at Paraconomy, the tinnitus will have some feedback, and I'll be able to show you the thought process of some of my ops because they'll forget. We'll all forget that I'm recording it and like going live. Yeah, I'm speaking a bunch of the telepathic thoughts that keep. So let me like get in on this. What is the telepathy here? I was reading in on this yesterday. So I give you guys a little scoop here. I was just reading about there's a part in the brain. There's basically this muscle in the brain. Excuse me. There is um in 2008 there was a study done basically on functional my teeth are falling apart. There is excuse me. Um there is a study done in 2008. Oh my God. Um, on card guessing tasks, as a telepathic phenomenon, and they used an MRI machine. And there's this part of the brain called the catio the Patuum, the Patuum cadum, Patuum cadum, Patuem cadem. Patuum cadum, is a part of the brain that allows telepathic thought to it's just the study is that it's a part of the right peripheral campal gyrus. It's this part of the right hemisphere's brain that just activates like a lot more heavily when there are astral projection images and other things going on that have to do with telepathic, like tinnitus and other EMF things that like you might find from like the crystals at shops and stuff around here. All sorts of good stuff. But like also, um, it's a natural um way of creating telepathy, and it is a huge part of what they're studying at the Pentagon. The UAPTF studies it, the AARO, the Pentagon has been studying. It's in this book. There's a bunch of it in here. But this one's on I'm sourcing a website, the National Library of Medicine. It's a .gov website. And it's basically it has this it's a huge this long essay of this study on paranormal phenomenon and how basically people have gotten better, basically, excuse me, people have gotten better at being able to access some of their brain cognizance that allows them this more abstract peripheral type of concentration. And it's what I've also read is it's like higher in like genius thinking people, sometimes in the autistic spectrum. They'll often find people with this astral projection that's like just slightly more inflamed on the MRI like studies that it basically this is a it's like it accesses well-known paranormal phenomenon such as like telekinesis, mind reading, and telepathy. Um, there's like all sorts of these things that are being basically read in your part of your right hemisphere, and it reciprocates into on things like your pineal gland and other parts of your pituitary and melatonin, um basically um synthesizing in your body. So like your cortisol levels also like kind of add up into the biochemistry of how humans can basically take some of their neural synapse, like the literal like electrons and the light that like is able to re-trigger on the human brain, and it allows people to access this part of um basically spiritual and synesthetic. It's like synesthesia, where you're able to perceive like colors and sounds and things, like in your mind without having to like physically be somewhere. So this study gets done, and they basically unplug a ton of like weird results. They have this guy draw things that he can't see. Like they'll have like a card with a shape on it, and they'll be like, draw this shape. And like the studies show that they can do it. They can pretty much draw the shape without ever looking at it. And they started to test to see if there's enough consistency on synchronicity and other things here that allow this science to take hold. And so while we're finding out the different chemistry, this is why I'm growing psilocybin mushrooms, is to help access this part of spirituality where it happens more innately. You're more ready, set, go for it. It gives you the difference in like it literally affects your blood pressure, okay? This stuff can like make or break you. And the more you hang tight into this hard factual science, the less this stuff and the frickin' this crap, this branded like witchcraft basically that they're snake oiling because there's no proof that like bath salts and incense and stones have much of a crossover. The only thing that does are the stones and crystals more so than any of it. But like they have basically co-opted this part of like new age music festival hippie culture that is very, very centered around the oneness of humankind. Burning Man is known for taking out like extra stops to make sure that they have little rituals and seances for malachite and like the giant craters. There's a ton of craters out in that desert that have been dug up by like meteoroids and stuff. So like that's a huge part of what the malachite and some of the like quartz crystals, clear quartz crystals is also known to have this like sort of special capabilities on the human psyche the closer it gets to your physical body. So it's a huge endeavor in science currently, and it's part of my company has basically been like co-opted out by to the stars, and now I get telepathy with Lou Elizondo and like Tom DeLonge, and but more on that in a little bit. I have plenty of celebrities that I've had telepathy with. John H. Benjamin is actually in on that one. I've had John in my telepathy since about 2016 when I moved out here. Into Lansing. I have had Bob's Burgers, Archer, John H. Benjamin, in my telepathic basically communications. And this led to other people like Jamie Lee Curtis. There's like a like Selena Gomez is now in it with thanks to the stars. And like other celebrities, Danny Brown, like a ton of other celebrities and musicians and artists. I've had plenty of telepathic communication with. And then on top of that, I've also had telepathic communication with non-human entities on this planet and off this planet. So, and then the government has basically given me the keys to the car to be able to talk about all of this stuff. But it starts here, and it's basically, it starts to hypothesize multi-dimensional science. A lot of metaphysics get peppered in to the way that this part of the brain adds the chemistry that allows telepathic thought, clairvoyancy, telekinesis, all sorts of other like very profound forms of practitioner work and prophetic dreams. Something I've control because I've taken a lot of time to study this part of my life. I now have access to lucid dreaming and prophetic thoughts. I've predicted the future. I've been able to like pull things from like all sorts of different sides of the psychedelic like parts of this forum, and like and it basically coalesces into these paranormal phenomenon that involve human nature and like the former. So like there's like this whole part of like
me being able to articulate this special part of the hippocampal regions, that the peripheral the parahippocampal region here, very closely linked to the hippocampus, both structurally and functionally. The current study findings also support associations with the right hippocampal and paranormal phenomenon. In our study, the control subject activated his left inferior frontal gyrus during his unsuccessful telepathic task performance. This brain area is implicated in the theory of mind. The attribution of mental states, such as desires, intentions, and beliefs to others, have been referred to as um, theory of the mind. Empathy, conceptually related to theory of the mind, is described as the ability to infer or share emotional experiences one another. Now, when I met Michaela Gonzalez, okay, we had a moment where I was, and this is getting deep, but like we were with her friend Corey, her brother Finn, and it was me and Michaela, and we were all sitting on my couch, and we all started having empathy, and like we all started crying together. And I basically like tried to guide that part of our trip because we were tripping on acid and Molly that day. And I basically sat us down because they were all fighting like children. And I kind of sat us down. I'm like, guys, we're empaths. And like we sat down and had a little group hug and like cried together for a second, and then we kind of got past it and like everybody was fine. But this is that part of empathy that is supposed to be more kind of uh curated for telepathy and this part of like astral projection. So now I have this whole like backstory and people involved where there's like all of this science that people can't be bothered with because they also just like have their own beliefs, which is I totally get, but with when there's so much hard science here, and there's we all a bunch of us have the ability to do it. Every single human technically has the ability to do it. It's just some probably progress at different stages in their life. And what I can tell too is these phenomenon are it get increasingly um like easier to access for some people the older they get. And on the flip side, there's people who lose it um, as they go through life. So I am under the sinking suspicion that these people want me to lose this practitioner work into my 30s and 40s, and they want me to think I'm schizophrenic. So half of these posts, they probably are like plot devices by my enemies to make me look like a fool or unwell. So they that I get to go to jail because they might have gotten uh some type of prophetic message that I'm like a very powerful magician in this sense. And so that coupled with the amount of drama, excuse me, that's been like kind of like peppered in by a bunch of mean girls who don't like trans people. This has basically created the amalgamation of like servitude that I've had to endure to basically displace enough of these people's pleasure in every given like attribute of the day. Because I am now under constant 24-hour surveillance by some of my worst enemies in that sense. And these people, again, are evil. If you saw that last video explains exactly the amount of control that these people have over my emotional baseline, and that causes me to freaking get upset. It causes me to like have to stand up for myself at 6 a.m. every morning because people have the fucking balls to continue to bring their bullshit back here and lie about it when there's science, there's clearly science linked to a bunch of this like superstitious mumbo jumbo that it's these are crystals, dog. These are just crystals. But the more meaning you put onto them and the better you get at creating that meaning and then it filters into science that and biology people stop asking questions, but that's because people can't decide for themselves and they want me to do like all of the fucking work and like over analyze it freaking um just go out of my way to get the answers for things. And it's getting people looking at me funny, at my family funny. It's gotten racism involved and white privilege, a bunch of like feminism, like Nazi, feminazi, like kind of like radical feminism. And like all sorts of other things. Meanwhile, I haven't really heard much from the guys' team. And in fact, I have an inkling feeling that guys are like kind of like relying on this part for me low key. There's a lot of guys who, not everyone, because there's a lot of stupid guys who don't care about this stuff. But more increasingly, there's like, it seems to be like there's a lot of guys who are excited to see the points that I'm able to make against the stark adversity that some of the women are attempting to utilize as weapons against my personal health, my spiritual health, my emotional baseline, my mental health, all of these other things. These women are willing to exploit every single day. Um, and now we have men too, because my neighbors also have dudes up all around them. And that's probably another part is like they're like Sadie upstairs, Frida Davis, she got a dude up there half the time now. And I'm willing to go out on an edge to say that that guy doesn't have the best intentions. And especially, they've been trying to freak me out and be like, look, it's the cops. You need to worry about the cops. And it's like, no shit, idiot. You guys are half the reason why I'm doing this every day and having to worry about it. So, unfortunately, these guys don't have my best interest either all the time. Um unless I make a point that's like solid. They also back the magic that the women do and they lie a lot too. These guys, I know I beat on women a lot, but I think I'm starting to pick up on this, especially because this part is like precognizant metaphysics and it's there's biological like information that gets processed. Then of course there's guys on the other side of doop doop and rock magic and the telepathy that I'm studying, and it's probably not very it's probably explains a lot of the trans radical feminism exclusionary stuff where they like to um they're pissed off that I basically do sex work. I'm hot. Yeah, I'm hot sometimes. Probably not right now, but like realistically, they're real pissed off that it exists at all. And especially the amount of like magic I'm able to pull from both women and men as a non-binary person now, being told to detransition and do a bunch of other things that aren't very healthy, but abusive, that it makes sense that there's some guys involved on this end of the telepathy because these girls, not Sadie, but Michaela Gonzalez is works at Omar's. It's a strip bar down the street. Sadie might do. I don't know what Sadie does. I don't think she really does that. But like Michaela Gonzalez definitely Definitely. I've done she's done Chatterbait over here. I know she's got access to a bunch of guys that are fucking lame as fuck. So like there's a good chance they've got that going on. The old neighbor who used to live across the street, he came over and he like kind of had his way with me one time. And then again with like Cassie. So if that guy's like back in the picture, he's probably on the other end of the telepathic line because another big part of it is like fornication lead and intimacy leads to some of these being heightened. These senses of telepathy and empathy and clairvoyancy end up being heightened because it's this they're basically this study like basically reaffirms that it's happening in the brain. It's basically um they're hypothesizing that it's some sort of like this says a lateralization. So they think that it's like bilateral and that it like keeps the brain balanced basically in brain chemistry, and that's like a huge part on how we're able to utilize some of the abnormalities um, for for um, for paranormal anomalies. So, I mean, yeah, psychosis, all sorts of other things that can happen within this. And I've been through a few instances of spiritual psychosis that have like brought me through hell and back. So these people are probably jealous that I'm vetted and like I didn't get the same vetting that they got, and they're kind of wondering how I got so good at being telepathic or empathic or all these other things that have formed my like view on religion, spirituality, my shamanism, my ordained goddess rights, other things like that in my life coaching. I'm a Jedi, yeah, I'm an ordained Jedi as well. So like this is something that like also can be looked at and like pried at. That one's more for fun, but like at the same time, if there's something that also that's been amiss for people and we just got to get a little more nerdy, then I'm no stranger to the Star Wars fanfics that are all over the internet and other places online. This being said, though, it leads to how we got here on this them versus us thing, and it kind of my sister weirdly co-opted into a lot of this witchcraft community. Um, over the past few years. She's never really shown a lot about it, but I think she's bought in, much like many of these other thrifty people who aren't quite ready yet to do all the hard science on looking at what this stuff actually is and how it functions and investigating it. Again, I think it's worth starting a company over to investigate because I've had a lot, and if you go out west, what you'll see increasingly now, last time I went out there a few years ago, there was a commercial for telepathic therapy. So like it's not like it isn't already a thing. But like, yeah, we don't have that out in the Midwest until we have Paraconomy Inc. So like because people can't really get interested in it quickly enough, they're also going to try to resist it until it's like too late, which I think we're starting to pull out some of the stops here on this year. But at the same time, if this gets to this point in the world where like it's happening and people don't care, it could be a big sign for like where it gets barred too. Because if humans are like being shown all sorts of new human capabilities that we're just now tapping into, especially with the increased like recreational drug use, legalization of marijuana, actual good things to help this thing progress in the right ways, and not to like just put drugs in with crime. Then it creates it blows some of the gate wide open for people to actually become informed on like consensual and incentivized like um diametrics on how to be able to incorporate any of the shaman medicine work or the medicine woman stuff for natives and like other people alike that gives them the eye of Horus, eye of Ra type deal for Egyptians and like Judaism and Abrahamic and Muslim. There's all sorts of like Judaism after dark in the Kabbalic readings. There's a ton about this stuff. In the Bible, there is so much. The Olmecs, read yourself this book. The Olmecs in South America and the Aztecs and Mayans were basically fluent in this part of Stoicism that allows you access into post death, basically pre-life, post-death. So if there's somebody that's on the telepathic line with these crystals and they're spying on me and they're trying to get me to die sooner, it might be either be a sign that either I'm doing something right and they don't want a whole lot. They don't want to blow the lid off of it, or they don't want me particularly to do that, or that I'm supposed to die soon, and or even my understanding is that they used this magic as a plot to murder me, and I didn't die, and it's killing people around me, like my late partner. So like that's sort of something that's like going on, and knowing Sharon Kelly Sweet is Candela's mom, and they practice Beltane, which is one of the pagan holidays that are coming up. It makes sense that also Tracy Sprague and my mother kind of co-op into some of that theology where there's enigmatic translation between non-humans and spirituality and like their human counterparts that allow more study from afar, especially on people's delicate sensitivities and neuroses and things like that. So, in the mainframe of causing enough chaos, people get mad when you mind your own business. This is a big part. Another weird small part. All these people told me I can go fuck off, and they're really mad that I'm minding my own business, trying to heal, um, trying to make money, trying to do things and not ask them for help. They feel insulted because I'm able to be independent, and they feel embarrassed too because they've been around me naked half the time, or I've watched Michaela Gonzalez fuck publicly a few times. So like that's kind of something she's probably upset about at this point with Corey and Candela, and they went out of their I'm sure Candela and all of them went out of their way after we've had sex to go make me look like a bad person, make me really, really unpopular, throw a lot of shade. And 719. It's all just if you don't know enough about it, you'll get caught up in the wrong ways spiritually. And this is where um not enough cord cutting is happening basically on their end. And excuse me, they have a lot of baggage. They're from the hood, kind of, and they don't care. Okay. They can't be bothered. They're from the hood. This science is too expensive and precious. to them, and they utilize it every day to make sure that this happens to me and that that happens to them. But because they've already got caught, kind of stealing my birthrights, stealing a bunch of my Christmases away, a bunch of good things in my life, breaking my family apart by using me to spearhead it. It's insane. It probably makes me look a little crazy too, to be honest, because like who's actually I'm in my apartment alone, first off, and that's why I need proof that there's different things happening at different times of the day, and it's spearheaded by different people. So like I don't know how to deal with this. But like realistically, this is a big part of why any of it's happening at all is because there are studies that are being done and concurrent studies that are happening, especially on my likeness now. I'm being studied by Harvard, by MSU, by the FBI, by CIA. I'm a pretty big deal now because I've also co-opted into this company that studies it for the Pentagon and the AARO. Um, the all anomaly um research uh office. Yeah, it's like all something the AI. It's a big part of the Pentagon where they actually study um paranormal activity, biomechanics, and things like that that they find in some of the spaceship retrieval. There are UFOs that land on Earth, and they have for less of a lack of a better term, they have aliens in them, and those things come in different forms. Sometimes they're really complex. Sometimes they're not complex at all, like a petri dish filled with like liquid and stuff like that. Um, they don't have like a ton of like right. It's stuff. It's technically alive, but it's also like it's some alien technology that we don't fully have the capacity to understand. But it's evidential, okay? This stuff is evidence-based, fact-based, things that have happened on our planet and off of our planet. And when the government has like fucking F1 fighters flying around capturing images like this, here's a still image that these fighter jets they capture on a regular basis now. So like that's something that people probably don't get yet. I haven't seen it. It can't be real. So instantly we're gonna have this weird part of counterculture spearheading parts of the anomaly at all because most of the time anybody who's ever seen an alien is either high on DMT or like they're straight up into like staring at nothing for hours on end till they see something. So like that's the depth sort of the community at large that we have that I'm attempting to give a little more back and help spearhead to make more popular with Paraconomy Inc. because it's clearly if this is news for some of the people, and it sounds like I've sunk something here today. And these people can't be bothered to help me out with money, schooling, funding, comfort. I just need a bed, dude. And they're just like throwing me in jail for it. They're like, this doesn't make sense. You're crazy. You're not, dude. That I'm like Nikola Tesla or Da Vinci or some crap over here on some like ahead of my timeness, and people are going to like look back and be like, "Oh, what happened to that guy? Oh, no one wanted that guy to be the leader of it, so we killed him." So if that's happening, my birthday's on Christmas, okay? If I die and some weird Jesus events start playing out, that means that like what I am saying now has merit, and I just can't get enough people to stand by the science. And that part alone is what gets people persecuted in historically speaking. And the moment it becomes apolitical or socio-political, and there's a political science behind any of the actual science, that instantly becomes the main stage for why you gain access into fiscal responsibility for it, why people would help me grow mushrooms, why I would be able to hire people at all, is because the physics and the science is there. So this is a huge part as to why I don't like any of the people that I've mentioned at this point. If they've not stepped forward and can hear me every single day I'm talking about it and just be like, that's not science, that's Jesus. And they're just being like faith-based Christian scientists, and they're not really delving into it, and they're just like, well, it's God. But they don't, and they just, again, we're using a lot of social justice to justify it. They're using a lot, and they're flipping hypocrisies into the social injustice here in order to try to stand next to half of the reasons why they put me at odds ends on pins and needles, because I don't nobody really needs to be there doesn't need to be this much drama when there's so much fact behind how this works. Since 2008, dude, this thing is like 20 years old. This research is literally too old to be like mad about somebody like repackaging and selling it off the right way. So like if that's all you, I'd like to invite you guys to reallocate the amount of like integrity you have on intelligence and rhetoric and academia, because there is some fact-based science behind why any of this shit triggers off 12 other people, okay, at any given radius. 727. I don't believe that taking a bath in this shit is gonna save me from the devil, okay? But at the same time, I don't not believe the devil can't access some of this stuff. It lives in the ground. Rocks come from the ground, believe it or not. So like so like I kind of wonder if there any superstition that it tracks, and we're not just pulling it out of our ass to make ourselves feel comfort when somebody presents facts to our like mistakes. So food for thought, people. There's legitimate references um all over the internet. University of San Francisco. This one was done out west, it looks like. And a little bit dude, it is this one's done all over the place. There's a ton of sources on this one, but like I digress. Um, what I've been talking about, 100% real. That's why it's silly to make me look crazy, or like it's really really weird because I don't need to be this stressed out, and I'd rather be meditating right about now. It's 7:28. And on that note, we're just gonna kind of roll coast into the next session here because I got a whole day to start. Um, and I might go back to sleep before I have to go look at packing everything up, because like people are fucking killing me off. They're trying to get me to be homeless. Um, they're killing people around me using some of this black magic on top of whatever it is that I've been able, right. So if there's like cause and effect, maybe Kate Vogel didn't do enough in this lifetime, in the right amount of time, and it killed her off. And it's like maybe it is Satan trying to show me a lesson um through people I love and care about in order to balance metaphysics. I don't know. I don't know. It's very strange that Kate Vogel died on my birthday. It was unexpected, but I think somebody's following me around with some rock magic, and I'm a Capricorn, so maybe it's like just not as effective. Since I'm like already an earth elemental shaman, and like a lot of people, they might just be like kind of letting me in on it for the first time. But also, I haven't divulged a whole lot of my life in that sense until not recently. So that's kind of why 7:30. I gotta ask a few questions to a few people and do my paranormal investigations. And if it's just gonna be this sidefold study over here on gaining access to like comfort and luxury, then like of course I don't want to work a day in my life. This information seems very valuable, and if I can do less because I'm smart and I've been through enough, then we need to talk about how to like alleviate the amount of like work I'm being forced to do for some of these uneducated dolts. But I digress. 7:31, 3/31, 2025. I'll be back in a second to just chill with you guys today. Spot on. Stay lifted.